Hello and welcome to Mostly Vintage Cameras. This is a Fujifilm Nexia Q1. It's a rather small, very lightweight, somewhat cute point and shoot camera. But the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed this little circle and triangle symbol. That's right, it's an APS camera. So I suppose the first question we should ask is, what is APS? It stands for Advanced Photo System, and it relates to a format in the same way that 35mm is a format. You have a 35mm camera, you have a 35mm film, 120 is a format, and so on and so forth. So the APS format is basically a dead format now. It hasn't been in production for a very long time. This particular roll of film went out of date in November 2004, so this is 21 years out of date. And it was launched as the next generation of film format. It was meant to be the next big thing, and in fact in many ways it was. It was criticised heavily at the time by people that wanted to shoot 35mm and were interested in photography and high quality, and yet for a lot of consumers that want high day and holiday pictures, it was an absolutely brilliant system. But let's take a look at the film cassette. This video is really about the camera, but we'll take a quick look at this if we can get into the box. So Fuji called their APS system Nexia, Kodak called it Advantix. Minolta cameras are called Vectus, Canon went with primarily Ixus. So as you can see, this is the film cassette, and there's no film leader sticking out, and the cassette itself has a very distinctive shape, and 1, 2, 3, 4 indicator windows. So this tells you the status of the film, and it immediately eliminates some of the biggest problems consumers have. You can't load the film incorrectly, you can't put it in upside down or back to front. You can't mislead the leader, because there is no leader, you can't misload it. And you can't load the same film twice, so sometimes you'll get people that send a blank film to be developed, thinking it's been shot, or they'll put a shot film back in the camera thinking it's a new film, and thus they ruin two sets of pictures. With this it's very simple. Symbol 1, which is a circle, means it's a new unexposed film. Symbol 2, which is a half moon, means it's a partially used film, which brings us on to another feature of this film. You can load it in your camera, take some pictures, rewind it, take it out, put it in another camera or put another film in your camera, and it will wind on to the last blank frame that's on the film. So you can partially use the film and reuse it at a later date or even in a later camera. So you could have, for example, his and hers rolls of film if you just had one family camera. So 2 is partly used, 3 is fully used but not yet developed, and 4, which is a square, is fully used and processed. And you might think, well, why does the film cassette have a processing mark? And originally, although it doesn't happen in this day and age, when you got your films developed, the negatives were returned into the cassette, so you got this back with your developed film in it, and you got a little postcard with thumbnail pictures. So every film cassette has a number on. Your index print would have the same number on, so you could take your index print and your exposed film, and on that index print every thumbnail would have the frame number. So ordering reprints, you'll just take this to the shop with the index card, and you look at the index card and say, I want 2 pictures, 2 copies of frame 10 or whatever. So a very simple integrated system. There is one other thing on this cassette which is like an added bonus. Let me just get a little pointer. A little bit like your old compact cassette tapes, it has a push out tab. So when your film's fully developed, not only will this show number 4, but this tab will be pressed in as well. And there was a whole ecosystem for APS, including things like film scanners to digitize your images at home, video players that plugged into your TV set, and it would look for this to make sure it was a fully developed film. Also, when you put this in the camera, this just tells the camera that it's developed as well. Now this presented a little bit of a problem for us in the retail trade, because people wanted to see how to load cameras, how to use all these features, and so on and so forth. But of course, if you load a film into a camera, if you've got a demo film, a test film, it immediately goes to partly used or fully used or whatever, and that's a bit of a problem. So it took all the 5 minutes to work out that if you've got a biro, a pen tip, there's a notch in here, and you can actually force this white indicator panel around, so you can take all your pictures, wind it around, and then reuse it as a demo film. You obviously can't use it as an actual film. That was a little bit of fun. But anyway, let's get back to the camera in question. APS cameras came in all sorts of guises. There were point and shoot cameras, there were zoom compact cameras, and there were even single lens reflex cameras with interchangeable lenses. So this was very much at the entry level part of the market, the high day and holiday type photographs. But you could also get high quality point and shoot cameras. This is a very popular camera of its day. Canon Nexus, these flash units never sit flat, by the way, as a broken catch. They all have it. The gold colour on this particular camera is because this is a limited edition version that was Canon's 60th anniversary. And by limited edition, I think they made about 2 million of them. But anyway, this was a high quality zoom compact camera. There were also high quality fixed lens compact cameras, and as I say, even SLR cameras. So let's start by putting the battery in this. The battery cover's on the bottom. Slides out like that. Takes a CR2 battery, and there's a, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, there's a very clear illustration telling you which one to put the battery in. And that just closes up. He said, not being able to see it from where he is. So the on-off switch is at the top here. It's marked on and off. There's a nice little design feature here. You can see the button here doesn't take any pictures. When you turn it on, it's actually the button that moves over to the taking position. The other thing that happens as you turn the camera on is the lens is exposed from behind its protective cover. The lens is moderately wide angle in 35mm terms. It's roughly a 28-29mm. Its actual focal length is 22mm, and it's 2 elements. To give you an idea of what, who and when and how this camera was marketed, I'm going to read the ePhotozine sort of press release or announcement for this new camera. It came out in September 2001, and ePhotozine wrote, Fuji show their commitment to the APS film format with this new stylish model. The round design is sure to make heads turn, as well as being ergonomically friendly as it sits in the palm of a hand. There's a cord for carrying around your neck, and at 118 grams it's light enough to be unnoticeable. The camera has a fixed 22mm lens with autofocusing and a flash with red eye reduction. Launched in time for the Christmas buying spree, Fuji believe it will make an ideal present, especially as it's competitively priced at £40, including battery and film. A gentleman, I presume by the name of Muir Kerr, and apologies for the poor pronunciation, Fujifilm's camera product manager comments, the launch of the Q1 is an extremely exciting addition to our range of compact cameras. The eye-catching design combined with extremely low pricing should interest consumers who want to capture fun moments in a stylish way. So Mr. Kerr there being extremely excited over the launch of this new point and shoot camera. So it was primarily for pictures around the Christmas tree, high days and holidays. The exposure is fixed, it's 100th of a second, an f8 aperture, which admittedly is not ideal, but it does have autofocus, and the autofocus works surprisingly well. It seems to be optimised for near distances rather than longer distances, and that makes perfect sense because the margin of error for focusing at the nearer distance is much shallower. Minimum focus distance being 60 centimeters, and it goes all the way up to infinity. So let's see where the film goes. We've got this little twisty control here, which reveals the film chamber. As I mentioned, you can't physically get that in the wrong orientation. You can only go in the right way. And if you put in a fully used or an exposed film, it'll spit it out again, it just won't let you load it. So having put the film in, you close the back, it'll whir away, and on the display panel it will show you frame 1. It also has a battery level indicator, and this little switch here switches from the classic format to the HD TV format. Now what that means is when you took a 35mm photograph and you got it developed, you would typically get photographs that were 4 by 6 inches, and that's what you get with classic. When you go to the H mode, you get 4 by 7 inches of HD TV 16 by 9 format. Now in this day and age, of course, most people are going to have their photographs digitized, so this is kind of meaningless. On the better quality cameras, like these, whether you used C or H, or there was a third option, let me show you on this axis again. So here we have our C and our H, and also a panorama setting, a P setting. So this would expose a full frame of film, and there'll be a magnetic track on the edge of the film which would record which format you chose it in, and then the print finisher or the developing company would read the magnetic data and say, okay, they took this one as a panorama, we'll print it 4 by 10 inches. They took this one as a classic, we'll print it 4 by 6. So that was pretty cool. There's also a function on the more advanced photo system cameras to pre-order reprints. So if you take a family group and there's 5 people in it and they all want a copy, you can tell the camera as you take the picture, print this 5 times. In fact, you can print up to 99 or pre-order up to 99 copies. This led to a little bit of a problem at the start of the launch of APS cameras and film. People would buy their new camera, they wouldn't read the instruction books, they set everything to maximum, and these films come in 25 and 40 exposures and also 15. But you could end up taking 40 photographs that you've preset to order 99 reprints of, every single one, and every single one would have cost you about 10p. So people were dropping films off and were getting inches thick stacks of photographs back, and a bill for £300 and plus. Needless to say, people were reluctant to pay those prices, which led to some interesting conversations. The developing companies had just done what the product did, and so very quickly the developing houses turned off that feature. So one of the advanced features of the advanced photo system was disabled almost from day 2 of launch, just because people frankly didn't read the instruction books. But that's life. So we've pretty much covered this camera. It's autofocus, it's fixed exposure, the viewfinder's quite nice, the flash has red eye, the flash works really well actually, especially as a fill flash. I'd like to share a couple of photographs with you just to look at them. These first ones of this graffiti, the sharpness is very good, it's obviously at the minimum or closest focusing distance. The colour rendition and the sharpness I think are excellent in these 2 pictures. And remember, the film is 21 years out of date. It's also a 400 ISO film, so it is a little bit grainy, particularly on this smaller format. APS is smaller than 35mm. I think this picture of the security cameras is probably my favourite on the roll, but I think if you want photographs that are kind of grainy, kind of atmospheric, these cameras do offer that sort of thing, albeit you are buying into a dead format. You can only use these whilst films are available. I've got about 60 rolls of this, most of which I guess I'll be selling at some point, probably on the 18th at Photographica, but anyway. The camera was available in a range of colours, so I've got silver and orange here. There was also a blue, which I don't have. That was at launch, and then later on they did a purple and some other colours as well. I think there was a green, and they even did a multicolour one. Fuji was so enamoured of this style and this shape that after this camera they did a Q1 digital with a 3mm pixel sensor, so that, and a short zoom lens. There was one other thing that I thought was worthy of note. Oh yeah, this camera has a little C in the H, and because it's a point and shoot camera that's meant to be easy to use, that was probably a little confusing for some people. So whilst most of them come in this sort of packaging and have this barcode, Some of the later ones come in the same packaging with this sticker put over. It says H format only. So there was a version where this control is blanked off with a little plastic plug and it only shoots the full frame format to the H format. So worth looking out for that as well. So there you have it. There's your Fujifilm Nexia Q1. There's a little bit more to be said about APS as a format and some of the stories behind it, but really this video is just a little bit of fun because I think these Q1s are very, very cute. I very much enjoyed using it, and weirdly the odd shape, because it balloons out at this end, it's actually surprisingly ergonomic. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, I do appreciate it.